EA Sports, within the game. Boom! They put a big hit on him, and he lets it fall out of his hand.
Well, ain't it nice to see a familiar face? Welcome to another year of football with Madden NFL 23. Before we get started, go ahead and change up your options, or just stick with what worked for you last year. And don't worry, if you ever feel like switching it up, you can always change things around in settings later.
Don't boy remorse, no cases pinned. I got the rolling flooded, soaking wet, but ain't been swimming. I'm the man now, ain't I work a plan now. Can't I? I remember when you lame player, hated a player, now the same lame player. They call a player male. Say, what you talking that funky, get about my face. Wearing that monkey, not that. That might give you life advice.
Accessibility settings.
Get some money.
Menu narration option is set to on. Menu narration option is set to off.
Get some money. It's the paper power pastor, burning rubber faster than a call NASCAR. My solo no sir, I am not a passer. I will not after any of you fever blistered. I'm the man now, ain't I work a plan now. Can't I remember when you lame player, hated a player, now the same lame player. They call a player male. What you
Accessibility settings. Madden 23 gives you multiple new ways to pass the ball. Try them all out here and pick what works best for you. You can always change your passing style later in the settings menu. Control the exact strength of your pass by using the passing meter. Place the ball exactly where you want it around your target by using the passing reticle and target area. Stick with what you know. Traditional old-school Madden-style passing. Lead the receiver in any direction by using the left stick. Try to hit the sweet spot of the passing meter to guarantee yourself an accurate or perfect pass. Place the ball exactly where you want it around your target by using the passing reticle and target area. Madden 23 control the exact strength of your pass by using the pass. Madden 23 gives control. Stick with what you know.
What's that? Where's your heart? Your heart! Your heart! Your heart! Where's that? Where's that? Jahan! 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 Where's Jahan? Jahan! Where's that? Jahan! Where's Jahan?
Madden 20 control. Stick with what you know. Traditional old school Madden style passing. Lead the receiver in any direction by using the left stick.
This is a special presentation of EA Sports from the Coliseum in Oakland. Our tribute to the coach, the John Madden Legacy Game. I'm Brandon Gaudin here to take you through the proceedings. And coming up, we're going to tell the story of a man who was truly larger than life and whose impact on the sport of football certainly is going to live on for decades and decades to come. Now, we've assembled a couple of rosters featuring some of Coach's favorite players from both yesterday and today. And Coach himself will be on the sidelines for both squads, trying to motivate his guys to victory. Now, I'm joined now by my good friend Charles Davis. CD, your thoughts on John Madden and what he meant to the sport he loved so much?
For me, Brandon, it's the word joy. He brought that to the game of football, brought the game to so many people. He stayed involved his entire life. And moving forward, when you think of football, you're always going to think John Madden.
One time for old times. What do you say we play some football as we are underway from Oakland in the John Madden Legacy Game? Here comes Devin Hester bringing it out. Oh, a good-looking return set up here. And he's out of bounds, but not before getting across the 50 to the 45.
That kind of kickoff kickoff return is something we call a momentum play. So if you're the offensive coordinator and you have a script of plays that you plan to run, you may change it up now because you may decide to go for some bigger strikes and try and keep the momentum going.
So it's the NFC Stars who will get the ball first. And, Charles, as we alluded to, we've got a different era of coach on each sideline. So the man coaching this NFC squad, we'll call him Young John Madden, this is a coach who was trying to establish a foothold in the NFL and on the cusp of doing it very successfully.
Yeah, you think back to that period, those early days as the coach of the Raiders, the late 60s in the AFL and then in the NFL in the early 70s. Coach was a guy who was ahead of his time. The Raiders were one of the first teams to have mini camps, one of the first to film practice because he wanted to practice coaching as much as he could. And his teams, they were successful right from the start of his head coaching tenure.
So as we mentioned at the top, well, let's take you through the life of John Madden. And, you know, it's very fitting that we're here back in the Bay Area, not just because John's so associated with Raider football, but also because this was where he spent his formative years.
Yeah, he grew up over in Daly City with his buddy John Robinson, who would also become an NFL head coach. And he played his high school ball at Jefferson High, eventually wound up playing tackle at the University of Oregon and later Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. Played well enough that in 1958, he was a 21st round draft pick of the Philadelphia Eagles. That's right, the draft had 30 rounds then.
That's going to bring up 4th down, only a gain of 2 there.
We can make this one pretty simple. He locked up all of his progressions downfield, forced to get it to his running back. But how about the way they ran to the football and knocked him down to force a 4th down?
So now they're going to send out the field goal unit to, as they say, fire away from long distance. This will be from 56 yards out. And it's a fake. He's going to throw it. Now a throw caught by one of their linemen. The fake field goal catches everyone by surprise. And the NFC has taken the early lead. Wow, talk about a big 4th down conversion for the score. Defensively, how do you let that happen?
I think you start with the offense and you give them credit for going for it and having that type of, well, let's face it, audacity. But defensively, I think you're right on target, partner. There's no way something like that's supposed to happen in that situation. You're supposed to be able to shut that down and get the ball back for your own team. Instead, they give up not just a big play, but a touchdown.
Oh, and now they're going to fake it. To the end zone, but it's incomplete. I'm going to go on a limb and say that you don't like that on the opening drive of the game.
It's a very strong limb that you're out on right now. Okay, look, the game between college and the NFL continues to creep closer. But that is truly a college play, not an NFL play. Because you'd snap the ball from the 3-yard line there, whether it's going for 1 or going for 2. So it makes sense to try it that way to maybe fake it. In this case, from the 15, makes 0 sense.
And now your lead's just 6-0 instead of 7-0. So, Charles, as mentioned, we've got another Coach Madden over here on the AFC sideline. Of course, his Raiders, members of the AFC West. So this is a conference he battled in for his entire career. And you think about the landscape of the NFL as he was getting into the back half of his tenure, it was a golden era for coaches. You had Don Shula, Tom Landry, Chuck Noll, Bud Grant, but it was John Madden who had the best winning percentage of them all, CD, 759, the best ever.
Brandon, it's hard to believe he could be so successful in a conference with all those great teams. The Steelers won 4 Super Bowls. The Dolphins won 2 and were a mainstay in the playoffs. The Colts were tough. The Broncos came on late and went to a Super Bowl themselves. But against Hall of Fame coaches, John Madden's record, 36, 16, and 2. That's pretty incredible. His Raiders were a factor each and every year.
Charles, you mentioned Coach was a 21st-round draft pick back in 1958. It was the Philadelphia Eagles who selected him. But unfortunately for John, knee problems, they just continued to dog him. He was hurt in his first training camp. Actually never saw the field as a player in the NFL. But it was still during his time with the Eagles, you and I were talking about this before going on air, that you could start to see the light bulb going on for what his career path might entail.
And it went on in a big way, didn't it? Because while he was rehabbing his knee, he started to spend a lot of time breaking down film with the Eagles. with quarterback Norm Van Brocklin, the future Hall of Famer and future head coach in the NFL. Remember, Norm Van Brocklin coached with the Falcons, he coached with the Vikings. And it's there during that time. I think Coach Madden realizes love of football and love for teaching, combining all that together, and that meant being a football coach. So in 1960, began his coaching career at a small college south of San Luis Obispo, Allen Hancock, and then later at San Diego State University under another legendary coach, the guy who could throw it around pretty well, Don Coryell.
Now on 3rd and long, they'll look to throw. But when this ball's tipped and intercepted. Picked up by the Hall of Famer, John Lynch.
And I think this is a situation where quarterback coach in the sideline is going to talk to a signal caller and say, listen, it's 3rd and long and it's still early in the game. Let's not force things here. If we don't feel good about it, let's just check something down and punt the football.
The NFC offense coming out here, and you know, Charles, Coach Madden always said that if he had one drive to win a game and he had to pick a quarterback, he would pick Kenny Stabler. But I think if you asked him to omit any of his Raiders players, there's a good chance the guy he'd select would be Brett Favre.
Brett Favre is always smiling. He's always laughing. He's always talking to someone. He remembers that it's a game. And if it's a game, you should have fun.
And Brandon, that always reminds me of a great movie line where one of the players was telling a coach, every time I say it's a game, you say it's a business. And every time I say it's a business, you say it's a game. With Coach, it was always a game.
Favre's throw here hauled in by Cup. But Charles, you know, it was in the early 1960s that a young John Madden made the acquaintance of the owner of the Oakland Raiders, one Al Davis, of course, and the two, they really bonded, would become one of the best owner-coach duos in NFL history. And to take it a step further, Al Davis became someone who John referred to as his best friend.
Yeah, 1967, Brandon. Al Davis hired Coach Madden to be a linebackers coach. Remember, this was still the AFL at that point. We had not merged totally with the NFL. And Coach Madden, he paid dividends almost immediately. Helped the Raiders win the AFL title in 1968. And that meant a date with the Green Bay Packers in what was now known as Super Bowl II. But by 1969, at the age of 32, just 32, Brandon, John Madden assumed the mantle of head coach of the Oakland Raiders. And what a ride he, the Raiders, and the NFL were about to go on.
Now, meanwhile, a pass that should have been intercepted, but it winds up falling incomplete. Now, a second down throw for the end zone, but it's incomplete. Charles, you talked about John Madden and the Raiders going on a ride. Well, try these numbers on for size. In 10 seasons as a head coach, the Raiders won their division 7 times. They finished second the other 3 times. And that's going to be caught. Touchdown, NFC. Randy Moss from 20 yards away. And they are able to add on to their advantage. And, partner, they found a gap there on the post pattern, and it was in the middle third of the field.
And that's really difficult to do because ordinarily the safeties are back there to prevent that happening. But they found the opening and exploited it.
Morton Anderson now for the extra point. And this is up, it's through, it extends their first quarter lead to 13-0. 1 quarter in the books at the Coliseum. What a day. The NFC Stars with the early lead in the John Madden Legacy game on EA Sports. The NFC with the football here to begin the second quarter. Anderson now to kick away. From the 10. And beyond the 20, but not by much. In fact, just a yard pass there to the 21. The AFC making their way out, and it's one of Coach's favorites, another local guy, Tom Brady, who will be at the controls. And boy, Coach always admired the way number 12 could run an offense, and especially his ability to stay calm under pressure.
Tom Brady is a guy who's always looking downfield. He never looks at the rush. He hangs in the pocket, and he makes a throw. He's a cool guy, and he's a tough guy. Let me tell you, there's no one calmer in the pocket than Tom Brady.
And I know that Coach has a great appreciation for Tom Brady, who turned 45 back on August 3rd, because Coach coached a guy like him in George Blanda, who played a long time in the NFL. In this game, it features legends and active players. Tom Brady qualifies as both.
They keep it on the ground. Allen again. They'll be dropped after a gain of about 6 across the 30 to the 31. Charles, you think about all the success that John Madden had as an NFL head coach, and he had plenty, and we talked about it, including the 10 straight winning seasons, a Super Bowl title. But like any great coach, he also suffered through a few tough losses along the way as well.
And Brandon, those tough losses came in high-stakes games because they always had such great success. Think about it this way. 6 times in his 10 years, the Raiders were knocked out in either the AFL championship game or the AFC championship game. But might be a divisional round exit. That's the one that bothered him most of all. Three River Stadium, December 1972. Yes, the Immaculate Reception game. Franco Harris grabbing the ball that was deflected. Almost at his shoe tops, he picked it up and took it in for a game-winning score to give the Steelers a 13-7 victory. And partner, anyone who loves black and silver still doesn't believe that ball hit anyone in black and silver that day, and that play should never have counted.
The CD, we spoke of some of the Raiders' tough playoff losses through the decade of the 70s, but for one shining season, they put it all together, and that was 1976. You remember a 13-1 regular season, a memorable playoff win over New England. They dominated the Steelers 24-7 in the AFC title game, and then a meeting with the Minnesota Vikings in Super Bowl 11.
Oh, Brandon, what a game that was down at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena. A gorgeous 53-degree day, perfect for football.
Oh, this is intercepted, intended for Hill. And now off to the races, down the right side. And he's going to bring this one back for an NFC touchdown. And on that one, with 6 defensive backs, did he need to be more throwing the football? I mean, I guess obviously in hindsight he did, but...
Yeah, hindsight, but even in foresight, when you got 6 defensive backs on the field, you just know you're going to get multiple coverages. You're never sure what you're going to see. But the biggest one is you don't have much reaction time for your receivers to go get the football, because those guys, they're the best cover guys on the field. They go get it. And on that play, they took it the other way for 6 points.
Oh, look at this. A flip to the kicker. He's going to try to run for it.
The conversion is no good on the fake extra point.
Well, I have to admit, I'm scratching my head a little bit here trying to make sense of what I just saw. Number one, huge lead. Just kick the extra point and be done with it. Number two, if you are going to go for 2, just line up and go for it from the 2-yard line. Why make it so difficult? That's a long way to go to try and pick up some points.
So they throw the pick 6. They'll get another shot at it now as this one's in the air. No run back here for Hall, and this will come out to the 25. The AFC offense heading back out. You know, Charles, Coach really loved to utilize his tight ends in the passing game. You think about Dave Casper, Hall of Famer for those great Raider teams. And I think he saw a lot of Dave Casper in an all-Madden staple, Tony Gonzalez.
Tony Gonzalez is the type of tight end I think everyone's looking for. He's a guy that could make some big plays from that tight end position. Let me tell you, you better make sure you have him accounted for on every play.
And that's exactly right, because Dave Casper, he could shred defenses down the middle of the field. And that's exactly what Tony Gonzalez did in his entire career, a 14-time Pro Bowl selection. Only Tom Brady has more. There are 6 guys in the 15,000-yard receiving club. He's the only tight end in there. Tony Gonzalez, every snap he had to know where he was, because he could make plays short, medium, and long, and often put the ball in the end zone.
So, Charles, after that Super Bowl title in the 76 season, the Raiders again advanced to the AFC Championship game the following year, but they fell to the Denver Broncos on New Year's Day by a field goal, and that ended their chances for back-to-back titles. And then in 1978, after missing out on the playoffs in that season, John Madden, he actually stepped down as coach of the Raiders January 4th, 1979.
Yeah, and that was a surprise for the league because remember, Brandon, he coached 10 seasons in the NFL. He put everything he had into the Oakland Raiders, into being a head football coach, into guiding, mentoring, loving his players.
And Brady going to be intercepted a third time. Picked up by Jalen Ramsey. A nightmare of a first half for him. That's now 3 interceptions. But Charles, with his talent, if anyone can shake this off and right the ship, it's him.
I agree, because you don't get to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league without developing some major mental toughness. So I expect him to go to the locker room at halftime, hit the reset button, and come out a new guy in half number 2.
The NFC heading back out. Hall of Famer Randy Moss a part of this offense. And Coach Madden, boy, he always appreciated the ferociousness with which number 84 attacked the football in the air.
As Randy Moss says, just chunk it up there, dog, and I'll go get it.
And, Coach, boy, did he ever go get it. Over 15,000 receiving yards, 156 touchdowns. And how about this? From his rookie year of 1998 until 2009, it was prime seasons, right? He led the league downs 5 times, but even more so, he showed us all how to go up and get it. Great body control. No one's ever done it better than playing the ball in the air.
So now 2nd and 10 after the incompletion on first down. Throwing is far. Got his man complete over the middle. It's Rice. And they're able to work this to the 25 before it's all said and done. A gain there of 21 yards.
A nice catch there by Jerry Rice. And when you look at the yardage he compiled in his NFL career, it seems staggering at 22,985 yards. But let's put a little context with it.
Yeah, we were in the numbers earlier. Larry Fitzgerald, who was contemplating retirement this past season, would need 7 more 1,000 seasons to break Jerry Rice's record.
That's context.
They'll throw on first down with Favre. That's to the right side, complete to Kittle. And they've got it inside the 10 at the 8. 17 more yards on that one as they keep the drive rolling.
And remember, this drive started off following the turnover, and they've taken no time working their way down the short field. A nice connection there, and now they're looking at a 1st and goal.
They scored touchdowns on drives 1 and 2, and now they're trying to make it a perfect 3 for 3 to start. To throw is far. And this is intercepted, but they'll say out of bounds. Oh, very close to a turnover there in the end zone.
Somebody talk about coverage. We're just about a defender running with a receiver, but a big part of it is understanding where the football is, finding it. In this case, when it arrived, it wasn't a surprise, and he was able to bat it away.
Another throw on 2nd down, and this one incomplete as well.
But that's a defensive coordinator's got to be happy with that result. They took away all options downfield and forced the incompletion.
They'll look to throw on 3rd and goal. Gets this one to use check. A great job to hold him to just a yard there. Now it's 4th and goal.
Partner, I think that completion takes the definition of dink and dunk to a different level, doesn't it?
It does, and the defense was right there, kind of played into their hands.
On 24 yards.
The Hall of Famer's kick is good, and that will extend their lead even further. So the turnover leads to points as they add 3 there.
Yeah, what a sequence there, and a nice one for them. They forced the interception, put together a little drive, and then come away with 3 points. Nothing to it, partner. Just do it.
Maybe time for one play on offense. 7 seconds to go in the half as the kick is away. Fielded right around the 8. And he'll take it a yard or so past the 20, call it the 21.
Takes over first and 10 at their own 21-yard line.
Let's go now. Let's go. Wait, that.
And with time running short here, they'll simply take a knee, and that should do it for half number one. Coming up in the second half, we'll run through John's post-coaching triumphs. But for now, we present a special tribute to the man of the hour, narrated by the Raiders' own Trey Mosley.
What comes to mind when you hear the name Madden? Is it the coach who led the Raiders to their first Super Bowl victory? Perhaps it's the broadcaster who entertained millions of fans. Or maybe it's the video game known simply by his name. But no matter what comes to mind when you hear the name Madden, everyone thinks of one thing: football.
The core of it was football. It's the greatest game in the world. The left goes to the right goes to the left.
Madden is on the field. He wants to know if it's real. John Madden goes on the shoulders of his players.
In my mind, John Madden is the most important figure in the history of professional football. Show me somebody else who did it on 3 levels the way John did it. There's nobody.
Boy, Charles, yeah, that is really well done. Coach was something else, wasn't he?
I'm reminded what Al Davis said when he was inducted coach of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, Brandon. He loved the game. He loved his team. He loved the Raiders. He loved this league. And you can see it with everything he does.
No doubt. But it's quite possible, though, that now he would say, hey, enough of that. Let's play some football. The second half forthcoming from Oakland.
The AFC takes over first and 10 at their own 20-yard line.
The AFC offense set to take their next drive. Well, they look up at the scoreboard facing that deficit. A 3-score game, Charles, but look, there's plenty of time to go here. The old football cliche that comes to my mind is you can't get it all back at once. They probably need something, though, out of this drive, at least 3 points.
Are you trying to say that there's no 3-score drive on that play sheet for any one of those coordinators? They just don't have it, right? You're trying to get it all back. You know you can't get it back in one drive, but maybe cut into it a little bit as you just suggested. Try and create a little bit of momentum, a little bit of a spark, and then maybe that'll carry over.
Don't need it all back at once, but you figure they're going to need something here. 17 yards to go on second down. First carry for their fullback. And a very short pickup there across the 15 to the 16. So now, Charles, to pick up the story we've been telling, John Madden at 42, he just completed a 10-year stint as the coach of the Raiders. He wants to step away a bit from the grind of coaching, but he doesn't want to step away from the game of football. So he ends up signing on with CBS in 1979 to try his hand at broadcasting. And much like his coaching career, he was pretty much an instant success.
Partner, he really connected with the people right from the start, and people may not remember, he wasn't even on the #1 team in the beginning. He worked his way up. But the same things that made him a great coach made him a great broadcaster. The ability to show the big picture, yet break it down into the details. That's what he did with his teams. That's what he did with the people. That way, he was simple to understand, yet insightful for viewers. And he did with that big personality that he had. One that...
There he goes, right side. Touchdown! All told, it's a punt return of 74 yards, as his guys have opened up a very comfortable lead.
When you got a guy that fast back there to receive punts, That's a nightmare for the guy game planning, the special teams coach. It's also a nightmare for the punter. Sometimes they get so nervous that they mishit the ball and kick it right to him.
Anderson on for the extra point. And that'll push the lead up to 29 now. Well, we know he has home run hitting ability in the punt return department, and he showcases it there all the way back for 6.
Anderson to kick off.
So after surrendering the punt return for a score, let's see what they can do in turn on this kickoff. Fielded right around the 8. And he won't get this to the 20-yard line as he's down at the 19.
The AFC takes over first and 10 at their own 19-yard line.
The offense for the AFC set to go now. Well, we haven't exactly been treated to a nail-biter in this one, CD, and if they cannot score here, this one's pretty much all but over.
Are you saying that you feel like people are starting to think about getting out of here, maybe beating the train in order to get over to their final destination?
Yeah, I don't think there's a whole lot of reason to hang around, especially if they can't score here.
Yeah, you're right about that, because it has been pretty clear who the better team has been in this one. And in a league that we talk about every game being a one-score game as we go into it, watching this blowout, let's just say it's been unusual.
Now Brady on the bootleg. Nowhere to go here. He lost the football. Offensively lucky there, able to keep the football, but now 4th down, so they'll have to boot it away.
I do think, though, they're going to look at this as a positive. 1, they recovered the fumble, so they retained possession. But 2, being able to punt it changes field position for them. Imagine if that turnover takes place there. Now your defense has to go onto the field and try and hold. Instead, they get a little breathing room.
Here's Ray Guy now. Remember, his first attempt was returned for a touchdown. Steps into this one, and this is a rocket. On the return, Hester. A nice work on the return as he gets about 15 yards back. And the NFC will take over 1st and 10. The offense for the NFC ready to get their next drive started. Completes it to the tight end, Kittle. And they're going to get this to midfield. So for Coach Madden, Charles, by 1981, his broadcasting career is really taking off. He's elevated to the network's #1 booth that calls all the big matchups. And he gets the plum assignment of calling Super Bowl 16, 49ers and Bengals, and up with Pat Summerall. And that pairing would go on to be one of the most influential in sports broadcasting history.
Influential not just in us listening to them. Remember, they went on and called 8 Super Bowls together. But how they put together kind of the template that all of us broadcasters follow now. Sitting down with the head coaches and the quarterbacks and the stars of each team before a ball game to get extra information. And the way that those two paired together, Summerall, short, concise, to the point, and turned it over to Coach Matt to fill in all the big details.
He'll get this one down near the 20-yard line, just shy of the 20. That one covers 29 yards, 1st down. So through 3 quarters of the John Madden legacy game, it's the NFC stars and young Coach Madden on top. And we'll be back to the Coliseum after this. Back now here on EA Sports. It's AFC football, but they trail here as we begin the 4th quarter. On 1st and 10, it's Sanders. And he's taken down after a gain of 3 as they move it from the 22 to the 19. As you mentioned, CD, talking about John Madden, the broadcaster, he called 8 Super Bowls with Pat Summerall, 3 more with Al Michaels later in his career. He spent nearly 3 decades in the booth all told. And not only was he beloved for his mannerisms, we know that, but he was an innovator as well.
Yeah, Brandon, you talk about things like the telestrator, which totally became identified with him, and now it's a staple for all analysts to have in the booth. And then you think about things like turducken on Thanksgiving, when he used words like boom and pow. He helped create the old Madden team. He was a very popular commercial pitch man. And even the Madden Cruiser was unique, and you had to be someone to get a ride on it, too.
From the shotgun, it's Favre. And oh, it'll be intercepted. Picked up by Rob Woodson. So a good drive with a bad ending, Charles. They move it down the field well. Cannot finish it off, though, as it's intercepted in the end zone.
Deflating, that has got to be the word here, because they were sharp in moving it down the field. But sometimes you start thinking like a touchdown is a given, and it doesn't always work out that way, as we saw there.
The AFC offense set to take their next drive. Well, it's been a struggle so far for this offense, Charles. It's not only that they haven't been able to put the points up, but really stringing yards together has been a real issue for them in this one.
I'm so glad you brought up the yardage, because I was thinking to myself, we've seen a lot of NFL games, and we've seen our share of lopsided contests, but in almost all of them, both offenses have put up at least 200 yards in a game, but not in this one. This has been a display of offense that, frankly, I think the two of us have watched from behind our hands, trying to spread our fingers wide enough to actually see the result.
On 2nd and 11 now. Brady. Looking left sideline, but it's incomplete. Now, CD, we did get a little ahead of ourselves talking about John Madden, the broadcaster in the 90s and 2000s, because there was another product during that time period that he became quite famous for, and it's something that you and I know a little bit about, and that's the video game that bears his name. Originally John Madden Football when it was first released back in the late 1980s, and now known the world over simply as Madden.
And Coach saw this originally as a way to teach the game of football. The early designs were for a 7-on-7 game.
And his pass is intercepted for the 4th time today. Picked up by Jalen Ramsey. And he's going to bring this one back for an NFC touchdown. Well, this one was already ugly, and now it's just kind of becoming a feast on the defensive side of the football.
Yeah, partner, this is a unit that knows they got this game in the bag with this huge lead, and it's going to drive their coaches crazy because they're telling them play it straight, do all the right things, but these guys are going to be freewheeling now. All of them are going to take chances, and that one pays off with an INT and a return for 6.
Now to try to add the extra point, the lefty Anderson. Now this one was over a while ago as they just add on to their big lead. A heck of a play there defensively, getting the interception, navigating his way into the end zone for the touchdown.
Martin Anderson to kick off.
So they'll get another shot on offense following that pick 6. And now the kick is away. From the 10. And he'll take it up past the 25 to the 26-yard line. So 2 minutes to play in the John Madden Legacy game. And the NFC well in control. And we'll be back to Oakland after this. The offense for the AFC set to go now. At this point, partner, things looking pretty bleak. They still haven't scored here in the fourth quarter, facing the big deficit. Just what silver linings, what can they look to do here? And my goodness, another interception. And he's going to bring this one back for an NFC touchdown. Well, just to add that to the list of great moments for this defense today, they've really shredded that game plan on the other side all 4 quarters. And, Charles, that pick six, that's kind of the cherry on top.
Yeah, and they did it, and I feel like I'm quoting a bad movie line, but they did it together, didn't they? Off of each other, every big play they made, every tackle, every pick, everything they've done. They continually built energy in this one, and how about them culminating with a pick six?
The AFC now line up for the 2-point conversion.
They'll try and throw for it. That's one. And they are just not going to let up as he is into the end zone here for 2 more.
Martin Anderson to kick off.
And this is going to be secured by the AFC. Well, fourth quarter, they felt like they needed the back. Unfortunately, they couldn't get it.
And I know we brought analytics into the game, and someone has said here that the data says that when a team's expecting an onside kick, 80% of the time, the team expecting it, they do actually recover the ball, which is what we saw here. I just wonder if that number is much more of a anecdotal type of a number. Kind of like when the coaches tell us, well, when you score on special teams, 93% of the time you win the game. I'm still waiting to see that number is empirical.
Brady again here on 2nd and 10. Well, the NFC pressure a little too much as they get home for the sack. Lawrence Taylor able to get in there for his 2nd sack of the afternoon.
Guys with his talent in the pocket aren't supposed to be getting hit like this, and you know an intense conversation with the offensive line is going to occur after this one. Might not be from him, but the offensive line coach will have plenty to say about this game.
On the toss, here's Allen. And he'll get it into enemy territory just across midfield at the 49. It's a gain of 5 on the play, and it'll bring up a 4th down.
Just like praise teams for being true to who they are. In this situation, I wonder if maybe they out themselves a little bit. 3rd down, seemed like his passing situation. They chose to run it and didn't get anywhere close to the 1st down.
Now Brady got to have this one. And it's incomplete. They cannot convert. And they turn it over. They had to go through such little time remaining. And this defense will take over right near midfield at the 49-yard line. Ready to begin their next drive here, the NFC offense. And a few kneel downs should just about do it. Now, defensively, they do have all 3 timeouts, but very little reason to use them at this point. Well, this has certainly been special. And, Charles, as we wind down toward the end of this John Madden legacy game, your final thoughts?
Well, let's face it, partner, it's going to be hard to overestimate the impact that he made, not just on the sport of football, but on his family, friends, players, co-workers, and in the lives of millions of Americans who watched it. There will never be another John Madden.
9 yards, not quite enough, and they'll be left now with 3rd and 1. So it's a win here for the NFC. Just an incredible afternoon of football and remembering the life of John Madden. And before we go, one final message. And for all of us at EA Sports, this one's for you, Coach.
I just say this, I thank you all very much. This has been the sweetest ride of them all.
Time to decide how you're going to make your Madden NFL 23 debut. You could put yourself back on the game's biggest stage and raise that Lombardi in Super Bowl 56. Become coach once again and captain a team of legends and stars to victory in the John Madden Legacy game. Feeling a little rusty on them sticks? Hit the practice field to get some work in before you start a game. Head on over to the main menu and see the full array of options you've got to work with at Madden NFL 23. Head back to the brightest lights of them all and take the field in Super Bowl 56.
EA Sports, within the game. Wow, that's one of those plays that you call and everything seems to happen exactly as it's scripted in the playbook.